If you've ever driven the backroads of America at night, you know how the world can shrink down to just your headlights and the endless black beyond. I grew up in Oklahoma, where the highways cut through miles of empty fields and lonely towns, and every local has a story about something strange they saw on the road. I never believed any of them until the night I picked up the hitchhiker who never left. It was late October, and I was driving home from a friend's place in Tulsa. I'd stayed later than I meant to, and by the time I hit the old state highway, it was past midnight. The road was empty, just me and the hum of the engine, the radio fading in and out with static. The sky was clear, but the moon was new, and the only light came from my high beams cutting through the dark. About 30 miles from home, I saw him a man standing on the shoulder, thumb out, backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked young, maybe early 20s, with shaggy hair and a faded army jacket. I slowed down, more out of surprise than anything else. I never picked up hitchhikers, but something about the way he stood there, shivering in the cold, made me stop. He climbed in without a word, slamming the door and hugging his backpack to his chest. Up close, he looked even younger, with tired eyes and a nervous energy that made the air in the car feel heavy. "Where you headed?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He stared straight ahead, just down the road. "Anywhere's fine." We drove in silence for a while, the only sound the tires on the cracked pavement. I tried to make small talk, but he barely answered, just nodded or shrugged. I started to regret stopping, but I told myself it was just nerves. After a few miles, I noticed something strange. The air in the car was getting colder, even though the heater was on. I glanced over and saw the hitchhiker's breath fogging in the air, his hands shaking. "You okay?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just stared out the window, eyes wide, as if he was looking for something in the darkness. That's when I saw the headlights behind us, 2 bright points in the rearview mirror, coming up fast. I thought it was just another car, but as it got closer, I realized there was something wrong. The lights were too high, too far apart, and they didn't move like a normal car. They weaved back and forth across the road, sometimes vanishing for a second before reappearing even closer. The hitchhiker tensed up, clutching his backpack tighter. "Don't stop," he whispered. "No matter what, don't stop." I pressed the gas, heart pounding, but the lights kept coming. They were almost on top of us now, so bright I could barely see. I swerved onto a side road, hoping to lose them, but the lights followed, weaving through the fields, always just behind us. The hitchhiker started to panic, muttering under his breath, rocking back and forth. "They always find me." "They always do." I tried to ask what he meant, but he just shook his head, eyes wide with terror. "Don't stop. Please, don't stop." The lights got closer, filling the car with a blinding white glare. I could feel the engine straining, the whole car shaking as I pushed it faster and faster. The side road twisted and turned, the fields giving way to thick woods. The lights followed, never losing ground. Suddenly, the hitchhiker screamed, "Turn here!" He pointed to a narrow dirt track barely visible in the darkness. I yanked the wheel, tires skidding on the loose gravel, and plunged into the trees. The headlights behind us vanished, swallowed by the woods. We bounced down the track, branches scraping the sides of the car. After a few minutes, the road opened up into a clearing. I slammed on the brakes, heart racing, and looked around. The hitchhiker was gone. The passenger door was still closed, the seatbelt still buckled, but the seat was empty. I stared in disbelief, trying to make sense of what had happened. I got out, shining my flashlight around the clearing, but there was no sign of him, no footprints, no dropped backpack, nothing. I stood there for a long time, listening to the wind in the trees, the distant sound of an engine somewhere far away. Finally, I got back in the car and drove home, not daring to look in the rearview mirror. But the story doesn't end there. For days after, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. My car felt different, colder, heavier, like there was still someone sitting in the passenger seat. I kept glancing over while driving, half expecting to see the hitchhiker staring back at me. At night, I'd wake up from dreams of headlights chasing me through endless fields, the sound of gravel crunching under invisible tires. A week later, I was driving home late again, this time on a different road. The radio was off, the windows cracked for fresh air. That's when I heard a soft, shaky breath right next to me. I looked over, and for a split second, I saw the hitchhiker's reflection in the window, his eyes wide with fear. I slammed on the brakes, heart pounding, but the seat was empty. I told myself it was just my imagination, that I was tired, but the feeling never left. Every time I drove at night, I'd catch glimpses of him in the corner of my eye, always silent, always watching. I started asking around, telling the story to a few friends. One of them, an older guy who lived in the area his whole life, just nodded. "You picked up the boy on County Road 12, didn't you?" he said. "People see him every few years. Some say he was killed by a drunk driver. Others say he's running from something worse. But once you pick him up, he never really leaves." I tried everything blessing the car, trading it in, even moving to a new apartment. But the feeling followed me. Sometimes I'd find the passenger seatbelt buckled when I knew I hadn't touched it. Once, I found a faded army jacket in the trunk, one I'd never seen before. Now, years later, I still avoid driving those back roads at night. But every so often, when the world is quiet and the road is empty, I feel a chill in the air and hear a soft voice whisper, "Don't stop. Please, don't stop." And I know wherever I go, the hitchhiker is still with me, waiting for the next ride, the next driver, the next lonely stretch of highway. So if you ever see a young man on the side of the road, thumb out, eyes wide with fear, think twice before you stop. Because some passengers never really leave.